Hey guys, it's Matt. This is the second part of last week's video, how the reality gives itself away category by category, but we will move on to an entirely new chapter number. Enough of that nonsense. This is going to be long, so I'll jump right into it, but we do need to do a, say, 2-minute recap of the 9 categories presented in the last video. Be very, very quick, then we'll start with number 10 and move on. One thing, if anybody's relatively new, saying, what is this reality gives itself away? It must be some sort of cliche or, this is just fun. No, this is very literal. Reality gives itself away, meaning the world isn't real. It's not a cliche. It's literal. Any 5 of these categories prove it. We have about 20. Here's the recap, about a minute and a half. Number 1 was no wins ever benefit the people. There are no medical cures, no great announcements. Hey, you don't have to use gasoline anymore. Never comes decade after decade. Number 2, stalled century. Gives reality away by itself. Now we have not Full House 30 years ago, the reboot, Fuller House. It doesn't ever end. The old century is endlessly recycled. People on Reddit, originality is dead. No, it's not dead at all. They choose for some reason to stall the century out. We've talked about it. We need to move on. The reality is a conspiracy generation machine. There's so many different topics to look into. Each topic has 2, 3, or 4 levels of different conspiracy based on who's looking. Number 4, nobody around us can see anything that we can. They don't give us an inch. It's unnatural. It gives the entire reality away. Number 5, endless synchronicities come to people like us. Our friends call them coincidences. Nevertheless, the numbers we see. Something happened to me just yesterday. I'll tell you about it some other time. Number 6, the impossible structures all over the world. Not just that, but the part of that I like are the repeating themes, the unnatural repeating themes. Oh, the material for this megalith had to be sourced and brought in from 100 miles away. The common elements in repeating themes, more like a script, more like a story than a real world. It is more like a story than a real world. Number 7 is Goldilocks. We've talked about it at length. Reality plays down the middle on everything. It's just enough for your best friend to see it his way, and there's always information so you see it your way. Nobody ever comes to the other side. This can't keep happening thousands of times over and over again. Number 8 is the gematria, or the gematria, or the numbers. How, the stars and the planets and the heavens and the entropy of the Big Bang and all that chaos, it operates under the same basic base 10 number system that everything else does. That makes sense in a real world. Why? I'm an asteroid or I'm a comet, but I have to operate under a base 10 system so scientists can predict when I'm coming back. Sure. Finally, in the last video was what I call the rule of opposites, or the rule of inversion. It's almost never broken. My favorite example, Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize, 10 seconds after he walked into the West Wing of the White House, was offered the Nobel, and he went on to be the biggest war president by most statistics. It always happens that way. He couldn't possibly fulfill what they gave him. The reality doesn't work that way, where he actually brought peace. Always the opposite. The point of all this, guys, no real world could do this. One quick thing before I start here with number 10. This is extremely important to understand, and I don't even think I mentioned it in the last video, but we've talked about it in the past, but this needs to be stressed. There's a difference in realities. Your personal reality, the bubble around you, a loved one, or your child walking into the room, much different than the outer screen reality. Remember our concentric rings reality diagram, where the rings from your heart-based center go out. The reality at the outer level I call the knot milk, the screen, the outer ring. It's more fake, more contrived, more fluid as you go out. The outer ring is dying to get your approval or to become real boy Pinocchio by gaining some sort of entry into your personal reality bubble. So when I say this is all fake, it's the outer ring I'm mostly talking about in this presentation. It doesn't mean your personal bubble in this whole natural environment is entirely real either. But in this presentation, I'm more talking about the outer ring. The outer ring is fake on its own. It needs your inner ring to exist, and it has done a masterful job in getting everybody to believe that all realities are the same, when I don't think they are. We'll talk about it more later. Let's just get through the list. Number 10, unnatural breadcrumb trails, the endless birthing of breadcrumb trails. Once you start investigating something, especially if it's a topic you're really interested in that is in any way considered to be conspiracy by this realm, reality will start laying down a trail of breadcrumbs for you to find to keep you occupied. The term used in the realm of conspiracy, in this case, simply means an alternative viewpoint to what is presented by mainstream science, history, news, etc. In many cases, the dark reality presents its absurdities to tempt us to take this alternate path where it can repackage its bullshit and trap a unique group of people like us who don't see the world like everyone else. It's like the reality itself understands where your attention is being focused and somehow will start to feed your expectations. We know that's no longer a way out theory, at least to us. And I think it's somehow related to a scientific understanding of what they call quantum theory. I think it's also related in some way to the law of attraction or the secret. This is why the knot milk wants your attention on the wrong things, or if you prefer, its things. This phenomenon is even easier to see from the other direction. Has anybody ever started to investigate a conspiracy, or what they would call one, from, say, Bigfoot to Admiral Byrd, and then they stopped their research, saying, oh, the trail went cold? Has that ever happened? Never? No conspiracy trails ever go cold, do they? Whatever can do that is not a real world. Next category, art and media predict events before they happen an absurd amount of times. The most famous example is the 7-Eleven job application allusions in the movie Back to the Future. Well, there are now thousands of these sort of examples that we labeled predictive programming. Well, I don't think we in this community came up with these terms that stick, like predictive programming. I believe they're given to us by the knot milk itself in an attempted ninth-inning hijack. Just like the term grassy knoll was so obviously artificially inserted into that presentation. These things act like an emulsifier, if that's the right word, hardened cement, or in their creepy spell. Grassy knoll, everybody knows that associated with the event, but nobody knows the term in and of itself. Did it even exist before the event? Who the hell? I've made fun of this before. Who the heck says grassy knoll? I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. I love this one. Daddy, I got to go to the bathroom. Daddy, I got to go to the bathroom. There's nowhere to stop. There's a grassy knoll right over there. You can pull over, Dad. Pull over on what? Pull over on the grassy knoll, Dad. I'll just go behind the bushes. Who the hell uses the term grassy knoll? These things that give reality away are so obvious to us at this point. Should be ashamed of itself. Sorry. In the old days of being first-grade truthers, and perhaps for the existing spitballers at the back of this very classroom, all we could do in the past was use pedestrian means to explain it all away. In every case, the Trilateral Commission, working with the secret societies, must be planting all what we call predictive programming, Matt. Every film director has a special phone line to the Men in Black that glows red like the bat phone and flashes when ringing. Just like the gematria today, we see these predictive links flow out of reality itself, and not all are planted. When we see predictive elements in art, media, movies, comic books, etc., all over the place, I think three things are at play. Some are put there by the creeps, no doubt, to support their creepy spell. Some flow out of reality itself. Some may be what we call a retrocausality, where the past is actually affected by the future or the current events. We'll talk about that some other time. There's evidence that all three things are at play. When the creeps do it, yeah, it's like part of the spell. I mean, we don't understand it. We don't want to understand it, right? But it's like the witch's brew. You know, the witch's brew, it's not going to work. What do I need? We need 1/2 of a salamander ear. Get it, or the whole potion doesn't work. It's like that in some weird way. I don't want to understand it anymore. Or what I meant to say was I don't want to understand any more of it than what we do, than that. But don't forget what we're doing here. The reality gives itself away, not a real world. Don't forget the overall theme here. So in a world where a current event or a future event can affect the past, is that what you would consider to be a real world? No. Is a real world where creeps need to plant certain things to predict elements, so to emulsify their creepy spell? That's not all of this. Don't forget what the whole point of this whole section is. Any one of these things breaks reality down, and we can just sit back and put our feet up. We're doing a real good job, at least in our segment of this community, not taking it seriously anymore, not really letting it get under our skin, not getting angry at it. We're seeing it like a vaudeville act or a bad Broadway show. In this, at least in our group here, we're laughing at it collectively more than we're crying about it. And that's a very good thing, because in the end, it can't get into your armor. It can't do anything to who you are, which is you're much bigger than this place. We've talked about that. I mean, this, you need to see it as a joke, and we'll continue to make fun of it. So in terms of what we just mentioned, though, one of the three things, retrocausality. predictive elements could come in that sense, not just planted. What flow through reality is a catch-all term, but let's just talk about the retrocausality. We didn't use the term much before 2015. Now we've seen so many examples. It seems almost certain to many of us, including myself, that major events in the present don't just affect the future. They also affect the past as well. You may disagree. I am absolutely convinced of this. I've just seen too many examples. But even scientific experiments, let's just throw that in. I'll throw it in when it supports my position, like the double-slit eraser experiment. It supports in their experiment that the past is changed by the present. But the way these experiments are conducted in university research labs, it's like 1,000th of a second something happens that then changes what happened just before it as measured. Who knows? Who knows? No, I don't think, like a lot of the first grade truthers, every single university professor that goes home to the wife and kids is all in on it, and every single double slit experiment is faked. There's just been too many, it's hit too many different university research parks, where somebody at somewhere would go, there's no merit to this. And everybody's kept quiet, Matt, don't you know? Paid, and this is the season of silver and gold, Rudolph. Silver and gold, paid and threatened. No, I don't buy it, first grade truthers. Well, Matt, why isn't that then just the reality showing people what they want? Fine, it still comes to the same conclusion where I want to get to anyway. No real world could do that either. If it's the reality showing the scientific experiments what they expect to find, well, fine, same conclusion. No real world could do that either, so let's move on. 10 years ago, when all we had were a few hundred examples of predictive programming from movies, books, songs, etc., predicting future events, all we could come up with to explain the phenomenon was, as usual, the same first-grade explanations. Of course, the predictive elements alluding to the future or these events all orchestrated by dark figures who work the door at the Bilderberger meetings. No, I'm not going to do it. We have refined our theories on how major events coming in the future are now predicted or alluded to in works of art from the past. The sheer amount of these instances that we've documented, to me, exposes the nature of this world. And one of the three explanations for predictive programming just mentioned, and we have explored this to a degree in the past, how predictive programming flows from reality itself, and other mystical explanations, with one example of that being a certain author, say of a book, in some way is channeling a future event in a psychic phenomenon of some kind. This seems more possible to us as we evolve our understanding of time, specifically how many of us now agree that it is not linear. The senses only fool us into believing it's linear. It's likely all stacked up on top of itself. There is no past or future. It's entirely perception. So this channeling makes sense because the event hasn't happened yet. Well, certainly it already happened. It has happened. It's just from our perspective, it hasn't happened. So the channeling makes more sense. The first grade truther or the spitballers in this very classroom, they just can't accept that. Maybe they haven't evolved enough. They're not open enough. It has to be planted. We've seen too many examples. I've been at the center of a lot of stuff over many, many years, guys. It's just too much to coordinate. Just stuff coming into my head right now. There was a book somebody wrote 30 years ago about in 2020, there'll be a virus in a certain book. And, fine. If we had 5 examples, fine, they're all planted, all 5. We have thousands and thousands. Every single creep had to go back to an author 30. Well, we know it will be coming 35 years from now, and I want you to put something in your book. Why? You just don't ask questions. Make sure your book is about this. Who are you? Well, it doesn't. It's impossible. It doesn't work like that. The first grade trooper. That's a Freudian slip of some kind. Has to expand their minds, dude. Let's pause to remember the only thing that's important here in this section, or the only thing that's important in general, the general takeaways are all that's important to us at this point. Unless anybody here wants to jump back in the bog. We can't explain how this happens. I threw out 3 possible explanations, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? We'll never truly understand it. We simply use it to understand the nature of this world. Can't explain it. Planted, not planted. It doesn't matter. Okay, we need to move on. We've noticed so much of this sort of thing, though. I believe that most of the old guard would agree that some sort of supernatural phenomenon is at play here. With these predictive elements, it's not just a coincidence. Of course it's not. We in our community are just starting to understand the nature of how reality works. But the creeps know. Many believe they've known a long, long time. We throw out these weird things like Mystery Babylon or the Library of Alexandria. Well, all this stuff, their bloodlines. It doesn't matter. They have an understanding of how the reality works, and they understand how to manipulate it in some way with creepy buttons and levers. To us, it's labeled supernatural because to us it's relatively new, and certainly not what we expected before we, quote, came into truth. The creeps understand it. But fine, so what? That's the role, I guess, to understand it. I don't need to know any more about it. To me, like I said, time clearly to me works in both ways. A massive future event, like the 7-Eleven job application, if you were in the 90s, sends a retrocausal ripple when it happens back through time. That can change art, in my opinion. Or who knows what it does, triggers a psychic phenomenon, so a movie is made in a certain way, or reconfigures reality itself. We don't know. The creeps basically understand it, but whatever. Who cares? Let them. The Not Milk will keep bestowing their hundreds of billions of dollars on university research parks, with the Not Milk itself being very pleased that all these scientists that apparently are working for it knows they're spinning their wheels, working on things that the Not Milk itself knows will go nowhere. Yes, you heard me right. Billions on research, funding things they know now will go nowhere. If the scientists are occupied spinning their wheels, then they're never going to ever have a chance of getting to the real truth, not that they're looking for it anyway. People are saying 70 to 80% of the economy is entirely fake, with people doing jobs that are in no way necessary, and redundancy times 100 just to keep things going, to keep the multi-multiplier, the money multiplier going. I think most places where the Not Milk conducts its real research, it's far away from college kids and food fights, far away from the University of Alabama or even Harvard, but maybe like Wheeler Labs. Remember in A Beautiful Mind how that Wheeler Labs was part of MIT, but it was in MIT, but it was separate, and the college kids couldn't just go in there and go, food fight! It might be in certain universities or in the Ivy League, but behind that closed door called Wheeler Labs, whatever, that's where they conduct their real research, and it'll never make no American Journal of Medicine or New England Journal of Medicine. It'll never make no scientific it'll never make no Scientific American magazine, if that even exists. Nothing that will ever reach the proletariat sons of bitches. They'll have their breakthroughs that will be unreported. Probably the president itself, the puppet itself won't even know about it. To the public, through its journals, you go bounce your ball, you play your ball, you read your Scientific American, that's what we're working on, more Wi-Fi, more AI, you bounce your ball. That's all, it's two separate things. I think it's obvious at this point, but whatever, we're just one of those people. This next category is very related to Goldilocks, but it's its own category. It's too large inside of Goldilocks. It needs to be presented separately. Remember, Goldilocks can be, oh, what a coincidence that even the Earth day is 24 hours. If we got 18 or 25 hours of sun and 25 hours of dark, 80% of the world would be uninhabitable. Goldilocks goes well beyond this, but this is a major part of Goldilocks. Both sides of an argument or a conspiracy, or something where we bicker about at the Thanksgiving table, each side gets the evidence it needs to dig in and never change their position or go over to the other side. It's very rare when it happens, and it's so artificial as we've observed it. No real world could keep creating conflicting evidence and give it to both camps or 10 camps at the same time. Opposing parties supporting their positions in a strong enough manner so they never say, I was wrong. It's artificial at this point. We have talked about it before, but let me present one more example here. Do splat turf, I don't want to banner at, I'm not trying to be derogatory. You're my brethren and I love you. Do splat turf researchers have any doubt they're correct? Of course not. They're 100% confident in their convictions. They should be. We'll get to that. To anybody new reading this book, this is not the stuff of lunacy. Splat turf, blah, 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 related to blank earth, researchers have not violated the scientific method with experiments conducted by the likes of Jeffrey in 12 Monkeys. Remember Jeffrey with Bruce Willis? Games trying to get out. They don't act like that. Their experiments are somewhat legitimate. Thousands of them have sent laser beams across lakes, and hundreds of videos documenting their tests show that 8 inches squared per mile, whatever they say it don't exist. 8 inches squared per mile is what Wikipedia says the curve is. Okay, the laser don't go up in the air. It stays the same. You understand? There were hundreds of these types of examples. One researcher, I remember this one, could not find how the curvature was taken into consideration by the digging of the tunnel. That's the train tunnel between London and Paris. Per this person's research, apparently the lead engineer said, how'd you account for curvature? He's like, I forgot. Look, maybe this video I'm remembering back was wrong. It doesn't matter. They have a lot of other support, okay? They say to pilots, do you have to push the stick down every 20 seconds to hold the... Pilot's like, no, we just keep the stick level all the way across country. Okay. Matt, I didn't know you were on that. I'm not. To me, there is no definitive shape to investigate, of course. Who has claim? All have claim. Who have claim? None have claim. In a fake world, to research and try to find shape is a waste of time and doing exactly what it wants. Of course, I have to say this right away because some new people think, oh, Matt, I didn't realize you were that type of... I'm not. To research shape is ridiculous to me. Other splat turf researchers have made a mockery, as they should. The Coriolis effect, is that what it's called? Apparently, long-distance marky-mark rifle shooter snipers have to make sure you take into account curvature over your mile-and-a-half shot. What the hell? Was that a dial on the damn scope? Or what's the Coriolis? Come on, what a joke. The point is, because of this and many other experiments in many different areas, these splat turf researchers, they make the mistake of announcing to the world, we've won, look what all our research has shown. No, they've not won at all because they don't understand the nature of reality itself. Reality is providing them the donuts they like best, like powdered sugar coated. Reality has at the same time served Stephen Hawking and his ilk a glazed donut. Then one group says, it's powdered. And one group says, no, it glazed. It's powdered. Oh, what does that remind you of? Matt, you're going to do it again? For us? I'm going to do it again. Tastes great. Less filling. Tastes great. They dig in. Nobody ever comes the other side. It's a damn truth drop is what it was. Matt, you're out of your mind. Maybe. Okay, so we talked about this enormous amount of evidence that the splat turf, no offense taken, I have to use that, no banner ad. We have tremendous amount of different research, experiments across lakes. Okay. Wow, what a strong side they have, right? What's on the other side of the coin? Okay, here we go again. I'll be very brief. We've talked about this 1,000 times. Do the astronomy professors in Ivy League schools have any doubt about the nature of the world to them? Do they have any doubt about the blue marble, what it is, not the legitimacy of the picture? Of course, the astronomy professors, that whole academia ilk, they have no doubt on their side of the coin. So both sides have no doubt. Who has claim? All have claim. Who has claim? None have claim. And right at this point, when I've made a similar presentation in the past, brings me to the dumbest comment I've ever received in all my years putting up YouTube videos. And here it is. Drum roll. Matt, there's no evidence whatsoever that the earth is a sphere, no evidence whatsoever. Matt, you're not going to do this again. The mathematical models are perfect, right down to 100 decimals. The way Venus operates in terms of the model, the morning star, the evening star only, why it can't be seen at night, is perfect per the math. No, they don't have any evidence at all. The dumbest comment I've ever seen in my entire YouTube history. Okay, who do you think has more evidence? I'm giving both sides equal weight. Who has claim? All have claim. I'm giving both sides equal weight here, which I shouldn't even do. Okay, and if you even look for a shape, you're lost. But okay, forget that. Who do you think has more claim if one side could win? Who's done more experiments and research? Splat turfers out on lakes and dinghies, rowing around dinghies with GoPros strapped to their head like mining lamps with little pen lasers in their hand and doing, oh, hey, I appreciate what they've done. But is that the same as collectively $1 trillion of infrastructure at university research labs dating back to 1850, telescopes looking at the stars, perfectly accurate mathematical predictions on potentially thousands of astronomical bodies, from comets to asteroids to whatever, when the next eclipse is going to be 400 years in the future? Okay, Not saying there's a winner on either side. Let me be clear. People will always take it out of context and hear what they want to hear. Oh, Matt believes this. No, one side obviously wants to perpetuate a false view of the universe on behalf of the screen and not milk to make spiritual beings seem small and insignificant. We've talked about that. That's not really part of this presentation. We know why one side pushes what it wants to be pushed. The other side, though, is trying to do the same thing and falling into a degree to the same trap. Obviously, unless you're really new here, you know what I'm saying. There is no winner. More importantly, there can never be a winner the way this false reality is set up. Both sides are valid at the same time. Many different aspects, things we didn't even talk about, are valid at the same time. That's impossible in a real world. Even other shapes are possible by collecting up evidence that fits with what the person desires to find. I told you a story before, very brief. Met a guy in Florida years ago who is now dead. After 10 years or more of research, he was 100% convinced of hollow earth theory. With another civilization living in the earth right now, he was sure of this. There was a whole other civilization and life. You can get into it different ways. Positive. Now, he's not delusional. The research he went out and found showed him his belief set. He did the research and reality provided the trail of breadcrumbs for him to find, like it does for everybody. If he was still alive, he would have loved the recent King Kong vs. Godzilla movie, which was primarily one of the main themes was Hollow Earth. He was fascinated by this topic. The fake reality shows all sides what it wants to find. His desire to reach a certain conclusion assisted in some way reality in creating the evidence, if you see what I mean. Real people can do that, can assist reality in some way. I didn't just misspeak. Well, Matt, if this is true, I'm going to conduct my own experiment. I'm going to start thinking for a week, and I'm going to get reality to believe, I really believe this, that Bigfoot is really the president of the United States. And then after a week, I'm going to believe this all week. Then after a week, I'm going to go start my research. And according to you, Matt, reality is going to show me what I expect to find. No, you can't fake it to make it in this regard. It knows it. Santa Claus. It's Santa Claus. It knows when you've been asleep. It knows you don't really believe Bigfoot is the president of the United States. So it ain't going to show you jack shit. You can't fool it because it's a reflection of you, you jackass. The Not Milk is a perverted Santa Claus. Even worse, the Not Milk sees you when you're sleeping. It knows when you're awake. It knows what conspiracy you want to find, and it'll put that shit under your tree. We haven't talked about the reality or the dark part of reality, Not Milk being the Event Horizon ship in a long time. So let's take a minute. It's been too long. Remember on the Event Horizon ship with Lawrence Fishburne? Is that the fat version or the thin version of Lawrence Fishburne? Is that the cool version from Boys in the Hood or the pathetic version from Biker Boys? It's kind of an in-between. It's a hybrid. Sam Neill is in Everything Creepy. One of the creepiest dudes of all time is this Sam Neill. But the ship, Lawrence Fishburne, I liked him in it. He said, the ship, it gets in your head. It shows you your worst fears. It's very similar to what the Not Milk does, but the Not Milk takes even further. If you are interested in a topic, it'll feed you evidence. It'll show you. It'll get you involved in shit so you don't understand yourself, so you don't do the part two, the work, the worry about yourself stuff. And I don't know why this just popped into my head, but do you think there's ever been a little child that opened up a package under the tree and there's one that looked like a cage, with some air holes poked in it, and they're supposed to get, say, a cat or a puppy? I'm going the Schrodinger way here. And the kid was well versed in Schrodinger's theories, and said, Dad, I haven't unwrapped this present yet. I think it's the animal you promised me, but is it alive or dead in the box? And the parents went, what? What kind of sick child did we raise? But the parents don't realize the 4-year-old kid's been reading quantum theories and his last chapter is on superposition and Schrodinger shit. The kid really believes that there's a chance that that puppy or whatever, that cat, is alive or dead, and they won't know until they unwrap it. And then the kid says, don't worry, parents. You've been reading quantum theory again? I have. Unwrap the damn puppy. Next major category. Conspiracy or truth researchers never, ever get a win. The pendulum never swings back to our side. Incredibly, the mistakes that we see are never big enough for us to recruit millions over to our side, millions who can join our ranks who can see. We don't get one person at the Thanksgiving table. In fact, most of its mistakes are on purpose to suck us in. We'll talk about that later. All we would really need, right, is one big mistake or one giant error on their part to say, look, everybody, we were right. And then we could sing Kumbaya and all our friends and family can bow down before us. We're so sorry, Matt, that we made you the outcast. We want to apologize. We want to bring you fruit baskets every day till you forgive us. It's never going to happen. But many of us just drift along like someday we'll get that win. A world that can never deliver a win to our group is not a real world. Sorry. The most recent example of this was just a few days ago, where even after viewing my free voice video, remember I showed Lefty selling Ernie the Air and the Voyager? Well, Tony saw that. I showed it to him. Told you he's been watching. What do you think happened? Nothing. Tony, as usual, thought my premise was absurd. What would you expect? I didn't expect anything. I just like repeating the experiment. When I first spoke with him about a year ago about that thing Voyager being out there, we had this general conversation reporting its data, it's whatever, it does its SOS from 15 billion miles away, and it tells jokes in Morse code or whatever it sends back from out there. Of course, the fact that it was doing all this legitimately for NASA made perfect sense to him. Anybody that would question even one bit of the official story, there has to be something wrong with somebody like that. But isn't it 35 years past its initial lifespan? They don't even talk about that anymore with the Voyager. Matt, this isn't about Voyager. But they don't even, for years, decades ago, guys, when you researched it, they would say, incredibly, still going. They would tell you it's 15 years past its expected lifetime, 20 years past. That doesn't apply because nothing was sent up in the first place, but they would tell you how past its lifetime it is. At some point, WASA made a mistake of saying its expected lifespan. And then actually news reports kept reporting, wow, it's 10 years past, 20 years past. Even that isn't a factor to Tony. And the distance doesn't matter. We could go out 30 billion. I would ask Tony, is there any billion mark where it would be unlikely it could send a signal back? What if they said it was 400 billion miles away? Matt, it's the vacuum of space. I guess the same thing applies if it's 15 billion. Why not 400 billion? He said it's the vacuum of space. How do we know how easy or hard it is to send a signal? There's nothing to stop the signal, Matt. Then what about 1 trillion miles? What about 80,000 quadrillion, trillion, quadrillion, whatever the next one is, miles? I would ask, is there ever a distance limit at all? I mean, that's a good, legitimate question. You'd say, get yourself, like the Tommy Boy, get yourself a new map. You're really smart, and you say Voyager is 15 billion mile away, and you're really smart, but I can't find Davenport on the map. We're in Iowa. We're in Illinois. Davenport's in Iowa. Get yourself a new Voyager map. And this section wouldn't be complete without touching on one final piece that definitively gives reality away, where I call it the giving in an inch. And Tony is not capable of ever, when he takes a position, I mean, if anybody I know there's zero chance he'll ever come off it. And I mean zero. But you would think, let's just say it's 20 more years from now, we meet up at a bar, and the Voyager now they say is 40 billion miles. You would think just out of, I don't know, most people would be able to come around and say, Matt, I'm starting to see your point. If they say it's out there 10 more years and another 10 billion miles, maybe I'll start to question it. But right now I don't. I like that. Just opening the door a little bit, saying, Matt, the one thing that does concern me is they say it's 35 years past its expected lifetime. That's opening the door a little bit. People that argue with you about how reality works will never open that door, not even a crack. They can give you nothing. I know I've said that many times, but it's fascinating how this keeps happening. And maybe a defender of reality or the palace guard would take the opposite position and say back to me, which wouldn't apply here, but they would still try to do it. Well, Matt, you're digging in about how cake in a lake the Voyager presentation is. You're not giving in. Well, as time goes on, all the evidence is stacking on my side. It's farther. It's billions of miles. Is it supposed to be more legitimate as it reports back from billions of more miles away? Is it going to be more legitimate if it's now 100 years past its expected life cycle? Everything's piling on one side. Fine, I'll open the door if it reports back anything that shows there's anything up there. What you going to lead me to the little computer desk at WASA and it says, here's the Voyager. That's what it is. They show you a computer. They show you a blip. If you listen carefully and closely, Beep, 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 beep. So that's it. I'm supposed to, fine, I'll open the door that it might be up there, but show me anything that's legitimate. Don't come back to me every 10 years and say, incredibly, it's still going like the Energizer Bunny. All the evidence is stacking up on my side. Does that even need to be said? Guys, this little section right here needs to be skipped. They can't be talked about. You know that little thing, the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. They can't be talked about. Private company, private company, private. They cannot be talked about. More absurdities. And the point here is, I don't expect the Palace Guard to say, oh, Matt, I see everything. I would, again, just more examples saying, Matt, I'm not going to come around to where you are about this mall event or this school event, but it is awfully odd that, I'll give you this, Matt, that this kid he's pitching for his high school baseball team 2 days after. I can't say anymore. At the end, it closes here by saying, I'll pick it up here. What if the recent news on Voyager 1 or 2 was they were actually sending out the old space cowboys, Team Daedalus, to fix it? And Donald Sutherland would be the real Donald Sutherland would be a guest aboard the flight. If that was a New York Times article about the Voyager, I believe there's a good chance that Tony would believe it. The main reality giveaway in this section, again, is how the people around us behave. It's strange. It's abnormal. And there's two things going on at the same time, and to me, they can't be reconciled. So on one hand, your friends and family, they always not only fully believe in the official story or explanation of everything, they won't say that any official presentation is a lie. They almost rarely ever have any sort of issue with it at all. Maybe a few exceptions, like Dealey Plaza and Kennedy. They may say the government tried to hold on to the Oswald thing for too long and they were covering up. There were other parties, and there's a few things like JFK, but I'm talking about all the thousands of artificial presentations that we see. They won't see any problem in anything that's on Wikipedia, and they certainly won't say it's an outright lie. Well, here's the problem. These same millions and tens of millions of people, on the other side, they sit on their stoop, and what do? Complain about the government, complain about their politicians. The Obama administration lied about this, the conservatives, it's all corrupt. And then the Trump administration, look, he's up on charges. Each group blames the other group, and they admit the other group was in power, and they're liars, and they're cheats, and they waste your money, and they steal your money, and it's all corrupt. And look at all those politicians that go to jail, and look at the Anthony Weiners. So the same group says how corrupt everything is, how lying and cheating all the people involved are, but then on the other side, Matt, if you question Wikipedia, there's something wrong with you. But it's that group that put forth the Wikipedia. Is there something wrong with my brain, or is this just common sense? Next category is a very large catch-all that several books could be written down by itself. Will be as brief as possible. Reality breakdowns and things that can't be explained. Well, how many things fall in here? To the people that believe in Wikipedia, nothing can fall in here. To us, tens of thousands of things. It's fair to say that when the basis of reality breaks down, a person could conclude that the world isn't very real. And many of us see reality breakdowns daily. What do we say when we have hundreds of examples of what could only be called, many of you get triggered, I don't care, I'm sticking with the word, reality breakdown? Many people in our community get triggered when I suggest that there are things that the secret societies working with the Trilateral Commission can't pull off. They get triggered when they say men in vans in dark suits can't pull this off, can't do this, can't do all that perfectly, and the mistakes they make are on purpose. They get triggered, whatever, can't please everybody. Others would say, even in our own community here, a little closer to home, would say that I'm too quick to call certain things a reality breakdown, just because I can't explain how it was done. Okay, we have a little disagreement there. Case by case, of course, specific by specific, we in this community may see things differently. Where I want us to agree at this point, and I think we've been doing this long enough where we can make this sort of statement that the first grade truther would find insane. But so many things have been presented to us that break down when you do the research. How many, again, the darts hitting the Post-it notes all over the wall. Investigate the cause of the Civil War. Investigate what NASA said happened here. When you dive into it from our perspective, it almost always breaks down. That's the reality breakdown in and of itself. The fact that there could be so many things where when you trace the river back to its source or its initial spring or tributary or whatever, that it breaks down. Now, we might disagree on what's happening, but the fact that this is occurring so often and nothing holds up, or as Miss Vito would say, holds water, that in and of itself collectively is a reality breakdown. How many things operate in the same manner? Almost everything of importance that we look into. Remember the Post-it notes all over the wall. Throw a dart. It landed in the one that says the presentation of the Battle of Gettysburg inside the Civil War. What do you think happens? From our perspective, most of us, it breaks down very quickly. Pickett's charge of 12 to 15,000 men, wherein books upon books and writings upon writings talked about as a complete slaughter. Pickett's charge should have produced more than 3,800 dead, one charge by itself. That's the number of dead officially presented for the South, with 75,000 employees, 75,000 soldiers. What the heck was that all about? Fighting over 3 days, 3 full days of fighting, 75,000, close to 100,000 on the north, total of about 175,000. Pickett's charge alone should have produced 3,800 dead. That's the total amount for 3 days. Okay, that's one Post-it note. Imagine every wall covered in thousands of Post-it notes. So the first grade truther will dig in. Matt, you say these mall events and school events are this and that, and it's paid and threatened. Fine, even if we disagree there. Don't you see, first grade, the number of things that break down collectively? It's impossible. The whole thing collectively is a reality breakdown. Now, I have a bunch of examples here I can't even talk about. I alluded to this in the last video. I'll just mention in general what they are. 2 pages of the book, I'll just skip that. My favorite one of all time, without a doubt, is this one thing or aspect associated with the big day in 2001, where to this day, I think no still images, and in the past I've talked many times about only 14 to 16 initial videos when there should have been 300 to 500 videos. In general, I'm a no pee-pee person. But as many times as I've talked about the lack of videos when there should have been 350 to 500 videos of something or nothing, you can be a no pee-pee person and say, then the video should have shown no pee-pee. But the big one to me that nobody seems to talk about is the no still images. I mean, so there's a few pages in the book here where I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to skip this section. But how many tens of thousands of cameras were pointing, after what happened to North, were pointing right at the top of both and the South. How many clicks per second? And we have well, Matt, that proves no. Okay, fine. But then that itself is a reality breakdown. Where's the 1,000 people saying, even from Hoboken, from New Jersey, saying I was snapping a picture every 10 seconds, and none of my pictures show a little birdie. I mean, where's that? Okay. This is one example. We have thousands of these. No real world could operate this way all the time, every time we look at something. Next major category, the Mandela effect. If you're Mandela affected, you don't need one more shred of evidence for the rest of your life that the world is not real.
Oh, no. I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'm triggered. It's confabulation. You're misremembering. Matt, I can't believe you're a good truther. You've done so much for the community, yet you're fooled here. How could you fall for this psyop, man?
Guess what? If you believe that the world doesn't make sense, you're Mandela affected. It's not about a fucking movie line all the time. A quick comment to the naysayers. So let me get this straight. Because you can't see the Mandela effect and you're really smart and you say 5 Mile to Davenport because you can't see it, then it doesn't exist. That certainly is the height of open-mindedness. Thank you for that. Shouldn't people in our community be the most open-minded when it comes to the strange and mystical? See how this doesn't quite work? All the deniers in our community are supposed to be the most open-minded to this sort of thing. If I meet a psychic who says she can see auras around me, do I scream in her face that she's full of shit because I can't see auras myself? I can't see them. She can. Oh, it's okay. Everybody brings a little thing different to the table. Our group should be the most open-minded of all people in the entire world. If somebody tells me they saw Bigfoot, I want to know more, and I'm fascinated by the possibility that they actually saw Bigfoot, whether I end up believing them or not. I'll approach them telling me they saw Bigfoot with an open mind, at least initially. When it comes to the Mandela effect, much of our community acts like a CNN reporter in this regard on this topic, being closed off to the possibilities and trying to support a certain position like PSYOP. It's totally bizarre, in my opinion. Truthers who are triggered by the Mandela effect are the biggest hypocrites of all time, complaining regularly how their friends and family don't believe them and what they put forth, but then they do the same thing to us. I have probably 6 or 7 what I call anchor effects. When I call it an anchor effect, it means I know 100% that, there's no other way to say it, that in my reality, or how do we talk about this, it did exist. Even though, obviously, per retrocausality, it never existed. But I'm sure it's not 99%, 100%. We've done this example before. Blah, 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 blah. Tell me your mother's maiden name, okay? What if it changed? You have a memory of something else. Oh, I guess I just forgot. No, you knew what it was. Okay, we don't need to do that again. The Mandela effect, in my opinion, is very real, and there are so many residuals that have been documented. I mean, I don't know, 1 million that have been documented at this point. So many residuals that I think the Mandela effect, in a way, can be proven. The way a murder case, for example, can be proven based on circumstantial evidence. I mean, you're never going to prove it directly. The reality you remember is gone, and per the way the reality is set up, never existed. We admit that. It never existed. Much of the Mandela effect community still don't understand this. It never existed. Now, I understand that's a paradox. Let's just move on. My favorite residual, though, is why would somebody pose right underneath Rodin's thinker statue, putting a hand to the forehead, when the hand on the statue right there in front of them or behind them clearly goes to the mouth, quote, in a new way. I mean, there's no other way to talk about it. Sure, one photo is not going to hold up in court as evidence that reality changed, but there are many photos, and there's thousands and millions of different types of these residuals. I mean, how many thousands with the lion and the lamb, for example? I mean, the fist to the forehead is all over the place. I mean, George Bernard Shaw gets the thinker pose wrong. There's 2 pictures of him posing as the thinker, naked, off to the side. Luckily, you can't see his David. We'll put it like that. George Bernard Shaw is a reprehensible figure. Good, nobody wants to see his David, but one right to the forehead. That's the first one. Years later, there's another picture of Bernard Shaw, one to the jaw. The first one we came across by a factor of years, I think, was I don't know, to me, the other one presented itself later. I mean, who knows if reality just presented it or it was always there? It doesn't matter. But to the forehead, George Bernard Shaw is not going to get it wrong. It's impossible. He's some pompous asshole who prides himself on being the smartest person wherever he went. I mean, this is what George Bernard Shaw got off on, always being the smartest person everywhere he set foot. He wouldn't make a mistake with the Rodin's thinker statue. And I think the legend and lore is he knew, I don't know if he knew the curator of the museum or the time period of Rodin itself. It doesn't matter. I'm no expert. But he sent the picture to the Rodin Museum, and he gets the statue. There's monster residual like this all over the place. Each one can be explained away by your friends and family. Well, he made a mistake. That by itself is almost hard to fathom. But then we have, 10,000 more of these? I'll conclude with this. You know what I think the most important aspect of the Mandela effect is, and it has nothing to do with movie lines. It has nothing to do with you're going to need a bigger boat. If you, in our community, see the world as foreign, it's moving along in some way without you, the ship of fools in the river of insanity example. You're rooted to an old reality. It doesn't make sense to you that in this reality, you could have hundreds of thousands of children, underage, whatever, that don't know what they are, bathroom by bathroom. You might say that's not possible in the world that I once knew. Then you're Mandela affected. This not milk has grasped on to the movie lines and all the bullshit to hide the fact that it's everything. Right? If the world is strange or foreign to you, you're Mandela effect. If you're off the ship of fools, it's changing and flowing without you. It's no different. In a way, then, the Mandela effect is a psyop. This Fiona Broome or whatever, they did psyop part of it to attract everyone's attention over here. Like, look at me, look at the changed movie lines, and then we're going to make a big stink over here when it's basically everything. All of reality is fluid. All of reality resets itself in retrocausal fashion. Things are just beyond strange. There's a lot going on in this general bucket. Yes, it was a psyop. They want people's attention on the movie lines. Of course. It's so obvious at this point. We'll talk about it later. The next general category that proves the world isn't very real, and you only have to believe in one. You can say I'm wrong about 15 or 17 others, and you only need one to break reality down. You only need one damn toothpick to pull out of the damn toothpick stack before the whole thing crumbles. This one's called the human download. Most of the world unnaturally moves in lockstep and almost perfect unison. In a way, that proves to us that people are on some sort of download. The key point is unnaturally moves in lockstep. They're too perfect. Their opinions are too similar, very artificial to us at this point. What happened in 2020, the See the Me, showed us this more than anything we've ever seen in history. The entire world started to face cover up in just a few weeks after news stories started being run. I mean, the number of millions and tens of millions that took to it as quickly as it happened in one sort of one sort of fish's school or beehive, all doing the same thing, or geese flying together. It was so artificial to us, so unnatural. The lack of pushback, it basically by itself, to me, gave reality away. We have many names at this point for this phenomenon, including they're on the frequency, people are tuned to the radio station, the download, etc. Years ago, I started talking about people running scripts. That was the first way I started talking about it. Like, the world appears to be a giant script, and people have these invisible cue cards put into their hand, and they are playing them out with almost it is like a free will thing. It was odd when we first started noticing it. Then it just became more bizarro and more severe as the decades went by. Most common example of this phenomenon, in my opinion, is how everybody around us can explain away or rationalize whatever strange thing we point out to them. Like, I'm going to skip this because we've done this several times already in this presentation. Your cousins, though, or your best friends, always seem to have a scripted answer to almost everything. So they never see it the way we see it. They make excuses in the same way. They're called the Palace Guard, defending a fake reality like an agent of the Matrix. I mean, there's so many thousands of things we notice as being odd, artificial, that nobody around us. We talked about the fact that they don't give us an inch, but this is going further. This is the frequency, the download. There's some sort of mechanism going on here, whatever it might be, a spell. We're fortunately unaffected. We have armor that repels it. What did Joe say the other day? When the mirror is polished perfectly, it reflects back. Nothing can penetrate it. I'm not sure exactly the way he presented that, but I'll take another look at it. It's another way of saying the armor. Here's one example in thousands for this section, and we'll move to the next. Why are all presidents loathsome creatures? Hated by all, but their most loyal supporters. It's not, you don't vote for someone you like and love. They set this precedent up a long time ago. You vote because you hate the other side, and you can just kind of put up with the stink of yours, but you loathe the other side. Well, nobody questions some of the basic things we do. Well, election cycle after election cycle, why can't just like a decent person, or kind of a nice person, run for office once in a while and become president? Then people will run their scripts. The whole point of this section, they'll run their scripts like they're on a download. And the frequency. And they'll give us answers that in a way have been programmed into them in some mechanism we don't understand. Have you ever heard this one before in response to why don't we just get a good, nice person that everybody likes running for president, or even two nice people so you might not know who you're going to vote for because you like them both? Here's what people will say. Have you ever heard this one before? How many family members have run this one like they're on a download back to me? Matt, nobody that's respectable, that's smart, intelligent, that could succeed in business or other areas, nobody would want to be president. It doesn't attract the creme de la creme. Ridiculous. I find this response to this presidential, why can't we get a good person, so friggin' stupid. Okay, we'll spend a minute. Why do we even need to do this? Oh, sure. No regular person would ever want to be president, as they say. I see. Most people that we know don't want fame. They don't want fortune. They don't want an entire world bowing down to them. A TikTok itself proves nobody wants to be noticed. Who'd want to live in a mansion with 30 servants and 5 cooks? Who'd want to have 10 weeks of vacation a year? Anywhere you want to go in the world's all free. A 747 with a king-size bed takes you wherever you want to go. Like basically a snap of your finger. Yeah, most people don't want that sort of thing, do they? No. The good people, they want to be university chancellors. They want to help kids. They wouldn't want that. The business people, no, nobody wants that. Hundreds of millions of people don't climb the corporate ladder to be in charge of anything, do they? They don't want to be in charge. They just want to put good products out to help you. We witness the human download in our friends and family basically every day. How the entire West was put into a face covering in about 8 weeks based on news stories just running around, just hearing this and hearing that. Nobody around them was being harmed. At 6 to 8 weeks, I was chased out of the Wawa. This is a download in action. Next major category. And there's no other way to say it, but just say it simply. Too many things have been pulled off. Since we've been watching closely, too many things in too many different areas have been pulled off. I get away with it. It's just impossible. People in general who see the world that the way it really is, or similar to the way we do now, most people wake up kind of slowly. First, they may question something, or the world doesn't seem right in this area, and they question and they look and they start doing research, and they may in 1969 say how impossible it would be for a laser blaster Charlie from Starkist tuna can to do anything. I mean, they start, then they start going on and they get in the conspiracy bog, of course. But that's exactly the graduated animal farm that it wants you. It wants you in those weeds. Most of us saw the absurdity of the 7-Eleven job application relatively quickly after it happened. Okay, however, once people fully jump into the bog and start researching, they soon see that almost everything they look at is some sort of conspiracy. Okay, we'll be quick here. This is a quick section because it touches and it involves other sections. There's always a lie of some kind that's been told to the world and a trick of some kind that's been laid down. These researchers then expand their topics, and they look at 10 more things, then 50 more things, then 100 more things. Most keep going, and will look at more than 1,000 topics, at least briefly, over the course of their lives, from the Titanic to a local mall event. If a local mall event, you spend an hour looking at that, and it just doesn't seem quite right, a local mall event or school event, that's one of the 1,000 things. Certainly, we've looked closely at 1,000 things. There's tens of thousands of things. The conclusion before we leave this section, there's no chance all of this could have been pulled off and managed by groups such as secret societies or quasi-government agencies like the Council on Foreign Relations or the Trilateral Commission. They've gotten away with too much at this point. No real world could pull off the hundreds of major presentations at the same time for 5 decades, no matter what the spitballers and the first-grade truthers like to believe about the groups of men in black. Bullshit. It's not that the men in black, that catch-all term we're using here, where you could plug 1,000 different things into that, it's not that they don't exist. It's the problem is with the spitballers and the first-grade truthers will point to that group or whatever that is in the police lineup as the final bad guy. When that happens, the not and ilk laughs all the way to the, quote, spiritual bank. I mean, that is a first-grade truther being fooled. Yeah, they're men in black. Yeah, there's creepy organizations. It's a tiny little cog or a tiny little part in a machinery that's called the outer screen, outer layer of reality. Christians call it Satan. I call it not and ilk. Sling Blade calls it a Kaiser Blade. Some calls it a Sling Blade. It doesn't matter. That's what you point out at the police lineup, whatever it may be, tiny little part in a giant machinery. Next major category. Too many bad guys are like comic book characters here. As stated, the main concern of the dark reality is it needs to be believed in. Its governments and systems need to be taken seriously for its trick on the people to work. If it loses believability, its spell over the ship of fools is gone. Therefore, it can't exactly have Skeletor from He-Man or literally Dr. Evil from Austin Powers running around this world as bad guys, although it gets very close with Jeff Bezos. However, like many things associated with this reality, its nature has to be revealed to those of us paying attention. That seems to be a rule here. When things start looking more like a cartoon than what you would expect from a real world, then reality once again has given itself away. Sure, it needs to be believed in, but it seems the entire reality is designed to wake us up too. The entire reality is a wake us up tool. whether the minions know what's going on or not. It's a wake-up tool for us at a certain level to go to the next step, whatever that means to you. Fortunately, that goal, reality's goal to wake us up, is higher on the org chart than anything else. So the clues can't be removed by creeps. These role players will be what they are. They will be seen by us in their true nature. And to us, they appear to be ridiculous cartoon character bad guys. This is hard to talk about, so let me bring in the Goldilocks principle again so you see what I mean. Plays down the middle. So some of these cartoon characters appear like comic book bad guys to us, like Santa Claus, Schwab, and others. But at the same time, say to your best friend or family, they don't see anything wrong when they look at Dr. F. They don't see anything wrong when they look at Melvin P. of the Belinda and Melvin P. Foundation or Santa Claus Schwab. They don't see a bad guy at all. Once again, it's presenting two different things at the same time to do two different groups. But from our perspective, again, let's look at pictures together right now of Santa Claus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. To us, he looks like a comic book character. He looks like he could literally replace Lex Luthor in leading the Legion of Doom on Super Friends. To us, not to your friends and family. That's what's so fascinating. There's a picture I found, I know Bill's seen it, he's put him in some of his posters, where he's almost dressed literally like that Darth Vader suit, like that spongy Darth Vader material with a combination of spandex. He just, everything but the helmet. Of course, send your friends and family like, oh, it just seems like a nice guy trying to help. Two things, one of the main points here is, once again, two presentations to two different groups at the same time. Go watch some of the speeches of Adolf, associated with World War II, especially the ones at night in the recreation of the Temple of Pergamum. I mean, it's like a ridiculous character to us. I mean, he's like a spaz. But again, it just looks like an evil dictator to your friends. And I don't look, but it just popped into my mind. The little guy from North Korea. What is this, Kim Jong-un or whatever? I don't think he looks scary to anybody. That's a comical presentation. We all get collectively the same. I don't know how reality's made a mistake there, but let's move on. So, but based on what I said a minute ago, can you believe, talk about a script or a comic book presentation? Hitler used the Temple of Pergamum to make his speeches at night, his famous speeches at night. And what a script. It's described in the Bible, the Temple of Pergamum, as Satan's throne. And, oh, come on. I mean, give me a break. This reality is a joke. They wouldn't even do that in a B movie. Somebody could be writing a B movie and the evil dictator is going to give speeches at the Temple of Pergamum, which everybody knows in the Bible is described as Satan's throne. And you take this out of the script. Nobody would believe it. I mean, it would be taken out of a B movie. It would be taken out of an 8th grade play. It's a joke. Only if Adolf gave his speeches before World War II from the Temple of Doom would it be more absurd than what actually they say took place. I mean, okay, here's another topic. Go look. We don't need to. We all have seen pictures of Jimmy Savile, right? I'm not getting into what he's known for, but just look at. Okay, go look at the pictures you remember. Those weird robes and glasses and his big cigar. He had 24/7 access or so-and-so to Buckingham Palace. I mean, he's an over-the-top caricature in a scripted reality. I mean, if you were to design for a B movie, here we go again. If you were to design, I'm the writer for this B movie, what are you thinking that, there's a character that, I don't know what to say. Play-Doh. He's a blank dough. He's in this movie, a real sick character has this affinity towards. Okay, if you were to design this character in the B movie and you drew up a sketch and the guy would say this is over the top. The director of the B movie would say, go redo this. This is so ridiculous, over the top caricature of what this evil person is all about. That's what Jimmy Savile is. I mean, it gives reality away to me. Haven't you ever stopped to think about, if you could design one person that has that reputation, you couldn't put one person from a visual standpoint that more expresses what he's supposed to be about than who he was. I mean, come on. Everybody would say that just the image of him, represents like the ultimate caricature of the ultimate Play-Doh, whatever. So, yeah, there we go. We live in a script. Oh, are you saying you didn't do it, Matt, and it's not real? Are you covering up for that? No, I'm not saying anything about, I don't know what he did or what he did. I don't know, okay? I'm just saying either way, this is a script that we live in, obviously, at this point. I'm way off the book here, but I'm still staring at the paragraph I had written, and I want to express to you. I had written pervert robes is the best way to express it. J.C. Penney and come see our new Pervert Robes collection, also at Bed Bath & Beyond before it closed. The Pervert Robes collection, available at Nordstrom's. And what's that one? Harrods. I guess it would be Harrods in London has the Pervert Robes collection. I mean, come on. Anyway, what else do I have written here? It says here, the buffoonery is coming from a reality that is actually trying to generate bad guys, but one that has the dual goal of waking us up subtly at the same time. And you get world leaders who, from our perspective, it can see through everything without the they-live glasses. These world leaders and the people associated with the outer screen or outer layer of reality either look to us like evil comic book characters or just straight-up buffoons like Boris Johnson. But I guess he looks like a buffoon to everybody now, doesn't he? But Matt, how do you reconcile this one in North Korea? Kim Jong-un looks like a weakling. He doesn't look like a scary bad guy. He looks like a weakling, like what Babs said in Animal House, Matt. A wimp and a blimp. I agree. Kim is both. Maybe that's their 2-in-1 religion that has to play out, a wimp and a blimp. I don't think Kim Jong-un breaks this trend of what I've been talking about here at all. I didn't say the bad guys have to be as convincing in their evil looks as Dr. Lecter in the movie or Idi Amin in real life. I only said they come off as comic book characters. Something not larger than life, and that's the right word, but just a bit off. Something that's not quite entirely real. That's all I'm saying. Can fall on either side of the evil spectrum. Kim is just the same. What a coincidence. The person who's supposedly the biggest threat to the world looks like the wimpiest pudge ball that ever got beaten up on a Pyongyang playground. You couldn't design a man on Stable Diffusion to appear any more wimpish than Kim Jong-un. The person trying to do it would be behind their computer, screaming at Mid-Journey, continuously putting in new prompts and saying back to Mid-Journey, he's not goofy looking enough. More goofy, more ridiculous, and whatever Mid-Journey and Stable Diffusion and Dale keeps coming back with is not as goofy or as unintimidating as what exists in supposedly real life. You can't make this shit up. He's the new Asian mascot for the Wimpy Burger. No, I don't think this is a coincidence at all. It's the way the Not Note designed it. It's just Kim's example appears to work in the opposite direction for whatever their creepy spell is. The opposite from Santa Claus Schwab, who actually could be a bad guy with a cat on his lap in a James Bond film, playing Darth Vader at the same time. Bezos of Melvin and Bezos is another example. I'm sorry, I don't see a space pioneer for his blue origin. I don't even see a hot water heater salesman. I literally see a caricature that makes Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movie seem somewhat legitimate. I look at him, I see a comedy movie. Look at a picture of Melvin P. posing any picture with a smile. It's not welcoming. It's not welcoming at all, sir. It's downright creepy is what it is. Look at that ghastly thing called Janet Yellen. Compare Nancy Pelosi to the thing that came out of the puff of smoke in Munchkinland. Take a walk. Oh my gosh, I have Henry in here. I better be careful what I say. There's still that sensitivity period. I'm just going to say, I can't really say it. Look at Saddam Hussein and OBL. They're all cartoon characters. This could go on and on for hours. This is a fake reality, likely designed in some way to wake up those ready to be awakened, with poorly written bad guys playing roles. No, I'm not joking. If this is the case, for us, it's the best news of all time. The last 2 chapters were a summary of the main principles and categories as to how reality gives itself away as some sort of false construct that we won't fully understand while alive. Famous astronomers should be ashamed of themselves for pushing their junk on the American people, the West, and the world. Thanks for listening.